The account balance is zero. Those 4 words from the ATM screen at Denver International Airport shattered what should have been the beginning of our dream anniversary vacation to Italy. Standing there with our boarding passes for Rome in one hand and a receipt showing our joint account had been completely emptied in the other, I watched my husband Michael's carefully constructed facade begin to crumble. But what he didn't know was that I had been expecting this moment for 8 months, and my real bank statement would reveal preparations that would change everything. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The fluorescent lights of the airport terminal cast harsh shadows across Michael's face as he fumbled with his phone, pretending to call the bank about what he claimed must be a technical error. His performance was almost convincing, complete, with frustrated sighs and demands to speak with supervisors about unauthorized transactions. But I had stopped believing his performances long ago. The irony of the situation was not lost on me as I stood in that bustling airport, surrounded by families heading off on vacation adventures while my own marriage was imploding in the most public and humiliating way possible. Travelers rushed past us with their rolling suitcases and excited conversations about upcoming destinations, completely unaware that they were witnessing the final act of a 22-year marriage that had been built on financial deception and carefully maintained lies. Michael Richardson had always been a master of appearances. At 6 feet tall with silver-streaked hair and the confident bearing of a successful commercial real estate developer, he commanded respect in every room he entered. Our neighbors in the affluent Highlands Ranch suburb of Denver knew him as the man who had built a thriving property development company from nothing, who drove the latest BMW, and who had provided his family with a lifestyle that most people could only dream of achieving. What they didn't know was that behind the polished exterior and impressive professional credentials, Michael had been systematically draining our finances for years to support a lifestyle and habits that far exceeded even our substantial income. The successful developer persona was maintained through an elaborate web of loans, credit arrangements, and financial manipulation that had finally reached its inevitable conclusion. I am Catherine Richardson, 45 years old, and until this moment, I had been known primarily as Michael's supportive wife and the mother of our twin daughters, Sarah and Emma, both 20 and currently completing their junior year at Colorado State University. My professional identity had been subsumed into Michael's success story, with most people viewing me as the fortunate beneficiary of his business acumen rather than recognizing my own capabilities and contributions. For 2 decades, I had played the role of the devoted spouse who managed our household, while Michael focused on building his business empire. I had organized charity events, maintained our social calendar, and ensured that our family life ran smoothly while he pursued increasingly ambitious development projects that promised greater returns and higher status within Denver's competitive real estate market. But 18 months ago, small inconsistencies in our financial situation had triggered an investigation that revealed the true scope of Michael's deception. What I discovered through careful research and systematic documentation would have destroyed most women. Instead, it became the catalyst for the most empowering transformation of my life. The first sign that something was seriously wrong had appeared during a routine review of our mortgage statement in January of the previous year. We had refinanced our home 3 times in 5 years, each time extracting additional equity that Michael claimed was necessary for business expansion. However, the latest statement showed that we owed more on our house than it was worth, despite the booming Denver real estate market that should have dramatically increased our property value. When I questioned Michael about the mortgage discrepancy, his explanation was dismissive and condescending. He assured me that sophisticated financial strategies were too complex for me to understand, and that my concern was unnecessary given his expertise in real estate finance. His tone carried the same patronizing quality that had characterized his responses to my financial questions throughout our marriage. That conversation marked the beginning of my transformation from trusting spouse to financial detective. Tutper. The following weeks, I began paying closer attention to financial documents that arrived by mail, monitoring credit card statements more carefully, and noting the increasing frequency of Michael's business trips and late nights at the office that he claimed were essential for maintaining our comfortable lifestyle. The pattern that emerged was disturbing and comprehensive. Credit card balances had grown to alarming levels across multiple accounts that I had not been aware existed. Business loans secured by our personal assets had proliferated without my knowledge or consent. Investment accounts that should have been accumulating retirement savings had been liquidated to cover operational expenses that Michael claimed were temporary cash flow challenges. Most troubling was the discovery that Michael had been using our joint accounts to fund activities and expenses that had nothing to do with legitimate business operations or family needs. Restaurant charges at expensive establishments during times when he claimed to be in business meetings. Hotel bills in cities where he had no business interests. Cash withdrawals in amounts and frequencies that suggested personal rather than professional purposes. The financial detective work required skills and persistence that I had never needed to develop during the early years of our marriage, when Michael's business was genuinely successful and our financial situation was stable. Learning to interpret bank statements, credit reports, and loan documents became an intensive education in financial literacy that revealed both the scope of our problems and my own capability for understanding complex financial situations. My background in accounting, which I had set aside when the twins were born, provided a foundation for analyzing financial data that proved invaluable as I uncovered the extent of Michael's deception. The analytical skills that had made me successful in my early career were not diminished by years of domestic focus, but simply required reactivation and application to a more personal and urgent situation. The most shocking discovery came when I learned that Michael had taken a second mortgage on our home without my knowledge, forging my signature on documents that pledged our most valuable asset as collateral for loans that had been used to cover gambling debts and lifestyle expenses rather than business investments. The legal implications of this forgery were serious, but the emotional impact of realizing that my husband viewed me as an obstacle to be circumvented rather than a partner to be consulted was devastating. As my investigation continued, I realized that our financial situation was far worse than Michael had ever admitted. The successful business that formed the foundation of his professional reputation was actually operating at a loss and had been sustained for years through increasingly desperate borrowing against personal assets. The comfortable lifestyle that we had maintained was not the result of business success, but rather the product of escalating debt that would eventually consume everything we had built together. The anniversary trip to Italy that we were supposed to be beginning had been planned months earlier as a celebration of our 22nd wedding anniversary and opportunity to reconnect after years of being focused on raising our daughters and building Michael's business. The trip represented not just a vacation, but a symbolic investment in our relationship and our future together. Michael had insisted on handling all the travel arrangements, claiming that his business connections would provide access to exclusive accommodations and experiences that would make the trip unforgettable. He had spoken enthusiastically about visiting the Tuscan vineyards where we had honeymooned, exploring the art museums of Florence, and enjoying romantic dinners overlooking the Mediterranean from our suite at a luxury resort on the Amalfi Coast. The elaborate plans and expensive reservations should have been a warning sign given what I now knew about our actual financial situation. However, Michael's confidence and apparent excitement about the trip had convinced me that perhaps our financial problems were not as serious as my research had suggested. I had allowed myself to hope that the trip would provide an opportunity for honest conversation about our finances and collaborative planning for addressing our challenges. Standing in that airport terminal with the evidence of complete financial betrayal displayed on the ATM screen, I realized that the trip had been planned not as a romantic celebration, but as the final act of a long-running deception. Michael had drained our joint account to prevent me from accessing funds that he planned to claim had been stolen or lost due to bank error while we were traveling overseas. The sophisticated nature of his plan became apparent as I considered the timing and logistics involved. By emptying our account just before departure, Michael had created a situation where I would be stranded in a foreign country without access to money, while he controlled whatever funds remained in accounts that I knew nothing about. The romantic anniversary celebration was actually designed to be a form of financial kidnapping that would leave me completely dependent on his resources and unable to challenge his authority over our financial affairs. But Michael had made a crucial miscalculation in his assessment of my capabilities and preparedness. The 8 months of investigation that had revealed his deception had also provided time for me to develop my own financial independence and security measures that he had no knowledge of. While he had been planning his elaborate scheme to gain complete control over our finances, I had been implementing my own strategy for protecting myself and securing the resources necessary to rebuild my life. The transformation from trusting spouse to strategic financial planner had required developing skills and knowledge that extended far beyond basic budgeting and household management. I had learned about asset protection strategies, legal rights in marriage dissolution, and methods for building independent financial security while maintaining the appearance of continued dependence on Michael's income and resources. My approach had been systematic and careful, designed to avoid detection while building the foundation for financial independence that would be essential regardless of whether our marriage could be salvaged. Every action had been documented and every decision had been made with consideration for both immediate security and long-term financial stability. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe. To our channel, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The education process had been intensive and sometimes overwhelming as I learned concepts and strategies that were completely foreign to my previous experience. Understanding investment vehicles, tax implications, and legal protections required research and study that consumed evenings and weekends while maintaining my normal routine and responsibilities to avoid arousing Michael's suspicion. Professional consultations with attorneys, financial advisors, and tax specialists had provided expert guidance while ensuring that my planning was legally sound and strategically effective. These consultations had been scheduled during times when Michael was traveling for business and had been paid for through methods that would not appear on statements or records that he had access to review. The most challenging aspect of the preparation process had been maintaining emotional equilibrium while living with someone who was systematically betraying my trust and undermining our family's financial security. The daily interactions with Michael required careful control of my reactions and responses to avoid revealing what I had discovered about his activities and what I was doing to protect myself. Acting classes that I had taken as a college elective proved unexpectedly valuable as I learned to project the persona of a trusting and financially dependent spouse while actually operating as an informed and strategic financial planner. The performance required constant attention to detail and emotional discipline that was exhausting but essential for the success of my protective strategy. The support system that I developed during this period included professional advisors who understood the complexity of my situation and personal friends who provided emotional support without requiring complete disclosure of the details I was managing. Building this network while maintaining secrecy from Michael required careful coordination and communication that respected everyone's boundaries and limitations. The psychological impact of discovering that my 22-year marriage was built on deception and financial manipulation had been devastating initially, but it had also been liberating as I realized that my suspicions and concerns had been valid, and that I possessed the intelligence and capability to understand and address complex financial challenges independently. The grief process for the end of my marriage had occurred privately over many months, as I gradually accepted that the man I had married either no longer existed or had never been real in the first place. The Michael who stood before me in the airport, frantically trying to maintain his deception even as it crumbled around him, was a stranger who bore little resemblance to the partner I had thought I knew and trusted. But grief had been accompanied by excitement and anticipation, as I realized that my discovery of Michael's betrayal had also revealed my own strength and capability. The skills I had developed, the knowledge I had acquired, and the strategic thinking I had learned represented assets that would serve me well, regardless of what challenges lay ahead. The moment in the airport terminal represented not just the end of my marriage, but the beginning of a new chapter in my life, where I would be the author of my own financial destiny. The woman who had stood by supportively while her husband made financial decisions was gone, replaced by someone who understood that true security comes from knowledge, preparation, and the confidence to act decisively when circumstances require it. Michael's phone call to the bank was nearing its conclusion, and I could see the desperation growing in his eyes as he realized that his performance was not convincing and that the situation could not be explained away as a technical error or clerical mistake. The moment of truth was approaching when he would have to acknowledge what he had done and face the consequences of his actions. But what Michael didn't know was that his betrayal had triggered preparations that would ensure not only my survival but my prosperity. The bank statement in my purse told a very different story than the empty joint account, and the revelation of my true financial position would transform this moment of apparent defeat into the beginning of my greatest victory. The transformation that had begun 8 months earlier with suspicion and investigation was about to reach its climax in the most public and dramatic way possible. The woman who had been dismissed as financially naive and dependent was about to demonstrate capabilities that would surprise everyone, including herself, and establish a new foundation for a life built on strength rather than deception. My transformation from trusting spouse to strategic financial investigator did not occur in isolation, but was built upon a foundation of experiences and capabilities that had been dormant for over 2 decades. Understanding how I reached that moment of crisis at Denver International Airport requires examining the path that led me to marry Michael Richardson and the gradual erosion of my financial independence that made his deception possible. 23 years earlier, I had been Catherine Mitchell, a confident and ambitious accounting graduate from the University of Colorado, with a promising career at Morrison & Associates, one of Denver's most respected certified public accounting firms. My specialty was forensic accounting, work that involved investigating financial irregularities and uncovering evidence of fraud or embezzlement for corporate clients and legal proceedings. The irony of my professional expertise in detecting financial deception while remaining blind to my husband's activities for so many years was not lost on me as I began my investigation into our family finances. The skills that had made me successful in identifying corporate fraud had been set aside during the years when I focused on raising our daughters and supporting Michael's career development. My meeting with Michael had occurred during the most successful period of my professional life. At 22, I was the youngest senior associate in Morrison & Associates history and had developed a reputation for meticulous analysis and innovative investigative techniques that helped clients recover millions of dollars in misappropriated funds. My work was intellectually challenging and financially rewarding, providing both personal satisfaction and professional recognition that positioned me for partnership consideration within 5 years. Michael had been introduced to me through mutual friends at a charity fundraiser for the Denver Children's Hospital. At 28, he was establishing his reputation as an ambitious real estate developer with an impressive track record of successful residential projects in Denver's rapidly expanding suburbs. His confidence and articulate discussion of market trends and investment opportunities were immediately attractive to someone who appreciated sophisticated financial thinking. Our courtship had been intense and romantic, characterized by elaborate dinners at expensive restaurants, weekend getaways to mountain resorts, and thoughtful gifts that demonstrated both generosity and attention to my interests and preferences. Michael presented himself as someone who valued intelligence and independence in women, expressing admiration for my professional achievements and encouraging my career ambitions. The proposal came after 18 months of dating, presented during a weekend trip to Aspen where Michael had arranged for a private dinner at a mountaintop restaurant, accessible only by helicopter. The ring was a 2-carat diamond set in platinum, far more expensive than anything I would have chosen for myself, but undeniably beautiful and impressive to friends and colleagues who viewed it as evidence of Michael's success and devotion. Our wedding had been a lavish affair at the Denver Botanic Gardens, with 300 guests, including prominent figures from Denver's business and social communities. Michael insisted on managing all the arrangements, claiming that his connections would provide access to the best vendors and venues while ensuring that every detail reflected our status as a successful young couple with unlimited potential. The early years of our marriage had been genuinely happy and fulfilling as we established our life together in a beautiful home in Cherry Creek that Michael had purchased and renovated using profits from his development projects. I continued working at Morrison & Associates while Michael expanded his business operations, and we enjoyed the lifestyle that dual professional incomes provided. The decision to start a family had been mutual and enthusiastic, but the pregnancy, with twins, created complications that required extended bed rest during my final trimester. The enforced inactivity was frustrating for someone accustomed to the intellectual demands and fast pace of forensic accounting work. But I adapted by studying investment strategies and financial planning techniques that could enhance our family's long-term security. When Sarah and Emma were born, they required intensive care due to premature delivery at 34 weeks. The months of daily hospital visits and coordinating medical care with multiple specialists made returning to my demanding career at Morrison & Associates impractical. Michael encouraged me to take extended leave, assuring me that his business income was sufficient to maintain our lifestyle while I focused on ensuring our daughters received the best possible care. What began as temporary leave gradually became permanent withdrawal from professional practice, as the demands of raising twins and supporting Michael's expanding business operations consumed all available time and energy. Michael's projects were becoming more ambitious and complex, requiring frequent travel for property acquisition and development coordination that left me managing household responsibilities independently. The transition from professional career to domestic focus was neither sudden nor entirely unwelcome initially. Michael's business was genuinely successful during those early years, and the income from his development projects provided financial security that made my employment unnecessary from a practical standpoint. The twins required significant attention due to health issues related to their premature birth, and I found satisfaction in providing the specialized care and advocacy they needed. However, the gradual erosion of my professional identity and financial independence created vulnerabilities that I did not recognize until much later. Michael's increasing control over financial decisions was presented as efficiency and expertise, rather than exclusion and manipulation. He established separate business accounts that were supposedly necessary for tax purposes and operational efficiency, while consolidating our personal finances under his direct management. The rationalization for these arrangements was always logical and presented with apparent consideration for my time and energy. Michael argued that managing complex business finances required specialized knowledge and daily attention that would be burdensome for me while caring for young children. He presented his financial management as a gift that freed me to focus on family responsibilities without the stress of accounting and investment decisions. My background in forensic accounting should have made me skeptical of arrangements that limited my access to financial information and decision-making authority. However, the combination of trust in my husband, satisfaction with our apparent prosperity, and exhaustion from the demands of caring for special needs children created psychological conditions that made financial dependence seem reasonable rather than risky. The suburban community of Highlands Ranch, where we moved when the twins started elementary school, reinforced traditional gender roles and financial arrangements that normalized Michael's complete control over family finances. Most of the wives in our social circle were financially dependent on their husbands' professional incomes and viewed their own domestic responsibilities as equivalent contributions to family welfare rather than subordinate positions. The social pressure to maintain appearances appropriate to our perceived income level gradually increased our spending on housing, vehicles, clothing, entertainment, and education expenses that reflected Michael's professional status rather than our actual financial capacity. The lifestyle inflation was gradual and seemed justified by Michael's assurances about business growth and investment returns that would support increased spending. My role evolved into managing the domestic aspects of our lifestyle, while Michael handled all financial planning and implementation. I organized social events, coordinated household staff, managed the children's schedules and activities, and maintained relationships with other families in our community. These responsibilities were significant and valuable, but they did not provide income or build assets that could support independence if circumstances changed. The warning signs of financial problems had been present for years before I developed the motivation and capability to investigate them systematically. Credit card statements showed balances that seemed inconsistent with our income and spending patterns. Investment account statements arrived less frequently and showed lower balances than expected given our supposed saving and investment program. Business trips became more frequent and expensive, while Michael's mood became increasingly stressed despite claims of continued business success. My attempts to discuss financial concerns were consistently deflected through explanations that emphasized the complexity of business finance and the temporary nature of any apparent problems. Michael's presentation of our financial situation always included reassurances about upcoming deals, pending contracts, and investment opportunities that would resolve any current difficulties while positioning us for greater prosperity. The psychological manipulation involved in these discussions was sophisticated and effective, combining technical explanations that sounded authoritative with emotional appeals that questioned my trust and support for our marriage. Michael's responses to financial questions consistently made me feel ignorant and unreasonable for expressing concern about matters that were supposedly beyond my understanding and inappropriate for my involvement. The transformation from successful forensic accountant to financially dependent spouse had occurred gradually over many years, through a combination of circumstances that seemed reasonable individually, but created cumulative vulnerability that I did not recognize until the situation became critical. The professional skills that could have protected me from financial manipulation had been dormant for so long that I had lost confidence in my ability to understand and analyze complex financial situations. Reactivating those dormant skills required acknowledging that my trust in Michael had been misplaced and that my financial security depended on my own knowledge and action rather than his expertise and protection. The process of rebuilding professional competence while managing the emotional impact of discovering systematic deception was challenging but ultimately empowering, as I realized that my capabilities had been diminished only by disuse rather than genuine loss. The investigation that began with questions about our mortgage statement gradually expanded to encompass every aspect of our financial situation as I discovered the scope and sophistication of Michael's deception. Each new revelation provided additional motivation for developing the knowledge and resources necessary to protect myself and plan for an independent future, regardless of whether our marriage could be salvaged. My accounting background provided the analytical framework for understanding financial documents and identifying inconsistencies that revealed the true state of our affairs. However, the emotional strength required to continue investigating, despite increasingly disturbing discoveries, came from recognizing that my daughter's future security depended on my ability to understand and address the financial challenges that Michael's deception had created. The systematic documentation of Michael's financial manipulation served multiple purposes, including building evidence for potential legal proceedings, developing understanding of our actual assets and liabilities, and creating foundation for strategic planning that would protect my interests regardless of how our marital situation was ultimately resolved. The process was methodical and comprehensive, treating our family finances as a forensic accounting case that required professional-level analysis and documentation. The most difficult aspect of the investigation was maintaining normal interactions, with Michael while accumulating evidence of his betrayal and preparing for the eventual confrontation that would end our marriage as I had known it. The performance required careful emotional control and strategic thinking about timing and presentation that would maximize my advantages while minimizing risks to my security and the children's welfare. The foundation that supported my transformation, from victim to strategic planner, included not only professional skills and knowledge, but also personal relationships and resources that provided guidance and support during the most challenging period of my life. Building this support system while maintaining secrecy about my activities required careful consideration of who could be trusted with sensitive information and who might inadvertently compromise my position through well-intentioned but inappropriate communication. The precise moment when suspicion crystallized into certainty occurred on a rain-soaked Thursday evening in January, when I discovered a manila envelope wedged beneath the front passenger seat of Michael's BMW while searching for my sunglasses. The envelope contained bank statements for accounts I had never seen before, credit applications bearing forged signatures that resembled my handwriting, and correspondence from collection agencies demanding payment for debts I knew nothing about. Sitting in the garage with the car's interior light casting harsh shadows across documents that revealed the systematic destruction of our financial security, I experienced a moment of perfect clarity that transformed 22 years of marriage into an elaborate deception that I could no longer ignore or rationalize. The evidence spread across my lap represented not just financial betrayal, but a complete violation of the trust and partnership that marriage was supposed to represent. The bank statements revealed multiple checking accounts at different financial institutions, each showing patterns of large cash withdrawals and transfers that bore no relationship to legitimate business expenses or family needs. The amounts involved were staggering, totaling over $200,000 in unauthorized transactions during the previous 6 months alone. The systematic nature of these withdrawals indicated careful planning rather than impulsive spending or temporary financial difficulty. More disturbing than the unauthorized transactions were the credit applications that contained my personal information and what appeared to be my signature authorizing lines of credit that I had never requested or approved. The forgeries were sophisticated enough to pass initial scrutiny by lending institutions, but careful examination revealed subtle differences in pen pressure and letter formation that confirmed they were not authentic signatures created by my hand. The collection notices provided the most alarming insight into the scope of our financial crisis. Multiple creditors were demanding immediate payment for overdue balances on accounts that I had no knowledge of, threatening legal action and asset seizure if payments were not received within specified timeframes. The total amount of these outstanding obligations exceeded our annual household income by a substantial margin. The psychological impact of this discovery was immediate and overwhelming, creating a sensation of falling through space while everything I had believed about my life and marriage disintegrated around me. The comfortable suburban existence that I had taken for granted was revealed to be a carefully constructed illusion, maintained through increasingly desperate financial manipulation that could not continue indefinitely. My initial response was denial and desperate hope that there must be reasonable explanations for what I had found. Perhaps these were temporary arrangements related to business transactions that Michael had not mentioned to avoid causing unnecessary concern. Perhaps the collection notices were mistaken or represented attempts at fraud by criminals who had obtained our personal information through identity theft. However, my professional training in forensic accounting made it impossible to ignore the patterns and evidence that clearly indicated systematic financial deception rather than isolated incidents or external threats. The documentation was too comprehensive, and the time frames too extended to represent anything other than deliberate manipulation of our financial resources for purposes that were being concealed from me. The realization that my husband had been systematically betraying my trust and jeopardizing our family's financial security created a psychological crisis that challenged every assumption I had made about our relationship and our future together. The man I had trusted with complete financial authority had used that trust to engage in activities that could result in the loss of our home, our savings, and our ability to provide for our daughter's education and future needs. The immediate question that confronted me was whether to confront Michael directly with what I had discovered, or to conduct further investigation before revealing my knowledge of his activities. My training suggested that premature confrontation would likely result in destruction of additional evidence and implementation of more sophisticated concealment methods that would make complete discovery more difficult. The decision to investigate systematically before confronting Michael required emotional strength and strategic thinking that challenged every instinct for immediate resolution and honest communication. Maintaining normal interactions while secretly documenting financial betrayal felt like a fundamental violation of my own integrity and the principles that had guided our marriage for over 2 decades. However, the evidence already discovered suggested that the situation was far more complex than I initially understood, and that incomplete information could result in inadequate protection for my interests and those of my daughters. The systematic nature of Michael's deception indicated sophisticated planning that would require equally sophisticated response to address effectively. The investigation methodology that I developed drew upon professional techniques that I had learned during my career in forensic accounting, adapted to the unique challenges of investigating someone with intimate knowledge of my daily routines and access to all aspects of our shared life. The approach required careful consideration of timing, documentation methods, and security measures that would prevent detection while building comprehensive understanding of our actual financial situation. My first systematic step was to request comprehensive credit reports for both Michael and myself through all 3 major credit reporting agencies. These reports would provide independent verification of accounts, loans, and credit inquiries that might not be reflected in statements or documents that Michael controlled. The process required using my maiden name and college address to ensure that reports were delivered to locations that Michael could not monitor. The credit reports revealed a financial landscape that was far more complex and dangerous than even my worst suspicions had suggested. Multiple credit cards had been opened in my name without my knowledge, many of which carried substantial balances that were being paid with minimum payments that would require decades to resolve. Personal loans had been secured using our home as collateral, creating legal obligations that could result in foreclosure if payments were missed. Most alarming was the discovery that Michael had applied for and received a home equity line of credit that used our residence as security for a loan amount that exceeded the property's current market value. This arrangement meant that we owed more on our home than it was worth, eliminating the equity that I had assumed would provide security for retirement or emergency situations. The timeline revealed by the credit reports indicated that Michael's financial deception had been escalating for over 3 years, with new accounts and larger loan amounts being acquired with increasing frequency as existing obligations became more difficult to service. The pattern suggested someone who was desperately trying to maintain an unsustainable lifestyle through increasingly risky financial arrangements. The business implications of what I discovered required separate investigation to understand how Michael's personal financial problems might be affecting his commercial operations and professional reputation. Real estate development is a business that depends heavily on credit and reputation, and personal financial difficulties could jeopardize business relationships and future opportunities in ways that would affect our entire family. My research into Michael's business operations revealed a company that was operating on extremely thin margins, with multiple projects that were behind schedule and over budget. Client complaints and vendor disputes were becoming more frequent, and several planned developments had been canceled due to financing difficulties. The successful real estate developer persona that Michael maintained in social and professional settings bore little relationship to the struggling business operator revealed by objective analysis. The discrepancy between Michael's public presentation and private reality extended beyond financial matters to encompass social relationships and professional activities that were designed to maintain appearances rather than generate legitimate business results. The expensive business trips and elaborate client entertainment were investments in image maintenance rather than productive business development activities. Understanding the psychological motivations behind Michael's deception required consideration of how someone who had achieved genuine success in the past might respond to declining business performance and mounting financial pressure. The real estate development industry is characterized by dramatic cycles of success and failure, and Michael's inability to adapt to changing market conditions had created personal and financial stress that he was addressing through denial and manipulation rather than honest assessment and strategic adjustment. The emotional toll of conducting secret investigations while maintaining normal marital interactions was substantial and required developing coping strategies that would prevent my growing knowledge and anger from compromising the information gathering process. The performance required for family dinners, social events, and intimate conversations demanded acting skills that I had never needed to develop for any previous life challenge. The most difficult aspect of the investigation was maintaining appropriate responses to Michael's continued assertions about our financial security and his requests for my support and trust regarding business decisions. Every conversation required careful consideration of how to respond without revealing my knowledge, while avoiding complicity in activities that I now understood were harmful to our family's interests. The support system that I began developing during this period included professional relationships with attorneys and financial advisors who could provide expert guidance while maintaining confidentiality about my situation. Building these relationships required careful research to identify professionals who specialized in cases involving financial deception and marital dissolution, and who could provide services without creating records that Michael might discover. The legal consultation process revealed that Colorado's divorce laws would provide substantial protection for my interests if the marriage could not be salvaged, but that optimal outcomes would require systematic documentation of assets, debts, and financial misconduct before any formal proceedings were initiated. The attorneys emphasized that preparation and evidence would be crucial for protecting my rights and ensuring appropriate distribution of marital assets. Financial planning consultations focused on strategies for protecting assets that were at risk due to Michael's activities while building independent financial security that would support me regardless of how the marital situation was ultimately resolved. These discussions required honest assessment of my earning potential and lifestyle requirements that forced me to confront the reality that my financial dependence had created significant vulnerability. The process of rebuilding professional confidence and competence began during this investigation period, as I realized that my forensic accounting skills were not only intact, but enhanced by maturity and life experience that provided better understanding of human motivations and behavioral patterns. The systematic approach to evidence gathering and analysis felt natural and satisfying after years of domestic responsibilities that had not utilized my intellectual capabilities fully. The transformation from shocked victim to strategic investigator occurred gradually as I developed confidence in my ability to understand and address the complex financial and legal challenges that Michael's deception had created. Each new piece of evidence and every successful investigative technique reinforced my growing belief that I possessed the knowledge and capability necessary to protect myself and plan for an independent future. The catalyst moment when I discovered the hidden documents in Michael's car had initiated a comprehensive investigation that would ultimately reveal not only the extent of his betrayal, but also my own strength and resourcefulness in responding to crisis situations. The woman who had trusted completely was becoming someone who verified everything, and the transformation would prove essential for surviving what lay ahead. The transformation from investigator to strategic planner required implementing protective measures while maintaining the appearance of continued trust and financial dependence. Armed with comprehensive knowledge of Michael's deception, I began developing a sophisticated plan for financial independence that would shield me from the consequences of his activities while positioning me for success, regardless of how our marriage ultimately concluded. The foundation of my strategy involved establishing independent financial resources that Michael could not access or manipulate. This required opening accounts at financial institutions where we had no existing relationships, using my maiden name and college identification to ensure complete separation from any joint financial arrangements. The process demanded careful coordination to avoid creating documentation that might appear on credit reports or statements that Michael could review. My first priority was securing employment that would provide both immediate income and professional credibility for future planning. The forensic accounting skills that had been dormant for 20 years remained valuable in the marketplace, particularly given the increasing complexity of financial fraud and the demand for experienced investigators. However, returning to professional practice after such an extended absence required updating credentials and rebuilding professional networks. The certification requirements for forensic accountants had evolved significantly during my absence from the field, necessitating completion of continuing education courses and examination processes that would restore my professional standing. The coursework was demanding and time-consuming, requiring evening and weekend study sessions that I disguised as volunteer work for charitable organizations that Michael supported. The most challenging aspect of this professional rehabilitation was explaining the 20-year gap in my employment history to potential employers and clients. The explanation required careful balance between honesty about family responsibilities and demonstration of maintained competence and current knowledge. My strategy emphasized the analytical skills that had been applied to family financial management and volunteer activities, rather than acknowledging the complete withdrawal from professional practice. The freelance consulting approach proved optimal for my circumstances, allowing gradual re-entry into professional practice while maintaining schedule flexibility that would not alert Michael to significant changes in my daily routine. Initial assignments involved small-scale investigations for local law firms and accounting practices that needed specialized expertise, but could not justify hiring full-time forensic accountants. These early consulting projects served multiple purposes beyond income generation. They provided opportunities to update my technical skills and knowledge of current investigative techniques, while building relationships with legal and accounting professionals who might provide referrals for larger assignments. The work also restored my confidence in my analytical capabilities and professional judgment after years of domestic focus. The income from consulting assignments was deposited into accounts that Michael had no knowledge of, creating the foundation for independent financial security. However, the amounts involved were initially modest and insufficient for supporting the lifestyle that our family had maintained through Michael's business operations. Building substantial financial independence would require strategic investing and systematic accumulation over an extended period. My investment strategy drew upon knowledge gained through managing our family finances and analyzing investment options during the years when I had assumed Michael was implementing sound financial planning. The approach emphasized low-cost index funds and diversified portfolios that would provide steady growth without requiring active management that might consume time and attention that I needed for other activities. The psychological challenge of building independent wealth while living with someone who was systematically destroying our joint financial security required compartmentalization skills that separated my secret activities from daily interactions with Michael. The emotional discipline necessary for maintaining normal marital relationships while preparing for potential dissolution was exhausting but essential for protecting my strategic position. Document security became crucial as my investigation and planning activities generated paperwork that required protection from discovery while remaining accessible for my reference and use. The solution involved establishing a safety deposit box at a bank branch distant from our neighborhood, using my maiden name and college address to ensure complete privacy. The box contained copies of all financial documents, legal correspondence, and strategic planning materials that would be essential if circumstances required immediate action. Legal consultation expanded beyond initial information gathering to comprehensive divorce planning that would optimize outcomes regardless of when formal proceedings might be initiated. The attorneys emphasized that Colorado's equitable distribution laws provided substantial protection for my interests, but that optimal results would require systematic preparation and strategic timing that maximized my advantages while minimizing risks. The legal strategy involved several components that needed coordination with my financial planning and professional development activities. Asset protection measures would shield resources that I was accumulating independently while ensuring that joint assets would be distributed fairly if the marriage ended. Documentation requirements would provide evidence of Michael's financial misconduct while establishing my contribution to marital assets during our 22 years together. The most complex aspect of legal preparation involved understanding how Michael's business obligations and potential legal liabilities might affect the division of marital assets. His use of personal assets as collateral for business loans created complications that required specialized expertise to navigate effectively. The attorneys recommended forensic accounting analysis of his business operations to identify assets that might be available for distribution and liabilities that might reduce the marital estate. This business analysis required skills that complemented my forensic accounting background, providing opportunities to apply professional expertise to personal circumstances while building evidence that would support optimal legal outcomes. The investigation revealed that Michael's business was essentially insolvent, with liabilities exceeding assets by substantial margins. However, certain valuable assets had been transferred to business entities in ways that might be reversed through legal action. The real estate holdings that formed the foundation of Michael's business operations included several properties that retained significant value despite overall business difficulties. These assets had been used as collateral for loans that exceeded their individual value, but comprehensive analysis revealed strategies for protecting portions of their equity through legal mechanisms that would benefit our family rather than business creditors. Professional networking became essential for building relationships that would support my transition to financial independence and potential single parenthood. The forensic accounting community in Denver was relatively small and well-connected, providing opportunities to establish credibility and develop referral sources that would generate consistent income over time. Industry conferences and professional development seminars provided venues for rebuilding relationships with former colleagues while demonstrating current competence and commitment to professional excellence. These events required careful scheduling to avoid conflicts with family obligations, while ensuring that my professional development activities appeared consistent with volunteer work or charitable involvement. The most valuable professional relationships developed with attorneys who specialized in complex divorce cases involving business assets and financial misconduct. These connections provided not only legal guidance but also referrals for forensic accounting assignments that involved similar circumstances. The expertise I was developing through personal experience proved valuable for helping other women navigate comparable situations. Tax planning considerations became increasingly important as my independent income grew and the complexity of our family financial situation increased. Michael's business activities had created tax obligations and reporting requirements that could affect my liability, regardless of whether our marriage continued. Understanding these implications required consultation with tax specialists who could provide guidance for both current compliance and future planning. The tax strategy involved legitimate methods for minimizing current obligations, while positioning myself for optimal tax treatment of any asset distributions that might result from divorce proceedings. The approach required careful documentation and compliance with regulations while taking advantage of available deductions and credits that would preserve resources for future security. Estate planning emerged as an unexpected but important component of my preparation process. The discovery of Michael's financial deception had revealed that our existing wills and beneficiary designations were inadequate for protecting my interests and those of our daughters. Updating these documents required careful consideration of how to provide protection without alerting Michael to my changed circumstances and expectations. The estate planning process also addressed practical considerations such as power of attorney designations and healthcare directives that would ensure appropriate decision-making authority if medical emergencies or other crises prevented my direct involvement. These documents needed to reflect my current understanding of Michael's trustworthiness, while providing appropriate protection for various contingencies. Insurance analysis revealed another area where Michael's financial problems could affect our family's security. Life insurance policies and disability coverage that we had maintained for years showed premium payment irregularities that suggested potential lapses in coverage. Health insurance through Michael's business might be jeopardized if his company faced bankruptcy or dissolution. The insurance review led to establishing independent coverage that would provide security regardless of what happened to Michael's business operations or our marriage. The additional premiums represented significant monthly expenses, but the protection justified the cost given the uncertainty surrounding our other financial arrangements. Emergency fund development became a priority as I recognized that crisis situations might require immediate access to substantial cash resources. The emergency fund needed to provide for several months of living expenses while supporting legal proceedings and transition costs that might be necessary if circumstances required rapid separation from Michael. Building the emergency fund required systematic saving from consulting income, while maintaining our normal household spending patterns to avoid arousing suspicion. The accumulation process was gradual but steady, providing increasing confidence and security as the balance grew to levels that would support independent living if circumstances demanded immediate action. The psychological preparation for potential confrontation with Michael required developing communication strategies and emotional resilience that would enable effective negotiation or legal proceedings under highly stressful conditions. The preparation included role-playing exercises and consultation with specialists who understood the dynamics of financial abuse and marital deception. Professional counseling provided essential support for managing the emotional impact of Michael's betrayal while maintaining the strategic thinking necessary for optimal preparation and planning. The counseling process helped me understand the psychological manipulation that had enabled Michael's deception while building confidence in my ability to make independent decisions and protect my interests effectively. The most challenging aspect of the secret preparation phase was maintaining normal family relationships while building comprehensive independence from the foundation of our shared life. The girls were approaching their senior year of college and would soon face decisions about graduate school and career development that might be affected by changes in our family circumstances. Communication with Sarah and Emma required careful balance between protecting them from unnecessary anxiety and preparing them for potential changes that might affect their security and support. The conversations focused on encouraging their independence and financial literacy without revealing the specific challenges that were developing within our marriage. The preparation phase concluded with the development of multiple contingency plans that would address different scenarios for how the situation with Michael might evolve. These plans included strategies for negotiated separation, contested divorce proceedings, business bankruptcy implications, and potential criminal charges related to financial fraud. Each scenario required different tactical approaches while maintaining consistent strategic objectives for protecting my interests and those of our daughters. 6 months into my clandestine preparation phase, my consulting practice had evolved from tentative freelance assignments to sophisticated forensic investigations that commanded substantial fees and professional recognition. The acceleration of my learning and expertise development occurred through a combination of challenging casework, advanced professional education, and strategic networking that positioned me as a respected practitioner in Denver's forensic accounting community. The catalyst for this acceleration was a complex embezzlement case involving a prominent Denver construction company, where the chief financial officer had systematically diverted funds through elaborate shell company arrangements and falsified vendor payments. The case required analyzing over 50,000 financial transactions across multiple years while identifying patterns that would provide evidence for criminal prosecution and civil recovery proceedings. The intellectual demands of this assignment pushed my analytical capabilities beyond anything I had encountered during my earlier career, forcing me to develop new techniques for data analysis and pattern recognition that would become standard components of my professional methodology. The complexity demanded mastery of advanced forensic accounting software and database management systems that had been developed during my absence from the profession. The learning curve was steep and demanding, requiring evening and weekend study sessions that I disguised as continuing education for volunteer accounting work with local charitable organizations. Michael's frequent business travel during this period provided additional opportunities for intensive study without the need for elaborate explanations about my activities and commitments. The technical skills that I developed through this demanding casework included advanced spreadsheet modeling, statistical analysis software, and specialized forensic accounting applications that could identify anomalies and patterns in large datasets. These capabilities represented significant advancement beyond the manual analysis techniques that had characterized forensic accounting practice during my earlier career. More importantly, the casework provided practical experience in presenting complex financial analysis to audiences, including attorneys, judges, and business executives, who needed to understand sophisticated fraud schemes without extensive accounting knowledge. The communication skills required for effective expert testimony and client consultation represented crucial professional development that enhanced both my technical credibility and business development capabilities. The successful resolution of the construction company case resulted in recovery of over $2 million in misappropriated funds while securing criminal convictions that established my reputation as a thorough and effective forensic investigator. The outcome generated referrals from the legal community and corporate clients who sought similar expertise for their own challenging situations. These referrals created opportunities for increasingly sophisticated assignments that required expertise in specialized areas including healthcare fraud, securities violations, and international financial transactions. Each new case provided learning experiences that expanded my knowledge base while building professional relationships that would support long-term career development and financial independence. The healthcare fraud investigation involved a medical device company where executives had inflated sales figures through fictitious transactions, while manipulating insurance billing systems to generate fraudulent revenue recognition. The case required understanding complex healthcare regulations and insurance industry practices that represented entirely new knowledge domains for my professional development. The securities fraud case involved analyzing trading patterns and communications records to identify insider trading violations by investment firm employees who had accessed confidential information about pending mergers and acquisitions. This assignment required learning securities law principles and financial market mechanics that provided valuable foundation for understanding investment strategies and portfolio management. The international fraud investigation involved tracing funds through offshore banking systems and shell companies in multiple jurisdictions while coordinating with law enforcement agencies and regulatory authorities in different countries. The complexity of international financial regulations and cross-border investigation procedures provided expertise that few forensic accountants possessed and commanded premium fees from clients who required such specialized capabilities. The diversity of these assignments created comprehensive professional development that positioned me as a versatile forensic accounting practitioner capable of addressing virtually any type of financial investigation or litigation support requirement. The expertise was both technically sophisticated and practically valuable for building a sustainable consulting practice that could support complete financial independence. The income progression from these increasingly complex assignments was dramatic and gratifying, growing from modest hourly fees for basic document review to substantial project-based compensation for comprehensive investigations and expert testimony. Within 8 months, my consulting income exceeded what I had earned during my previous career peak, while requiring significantly less time commitment than traditional employment would have demanded. This financial success provided both practical resources for building independent security and psychological validation that my professional capabilities remained strong and marketable despite the extended absence from practice. The confidence that resulted from earning substantial income through specialized expertise was transformative and empowering in ways that extended far beyond simple financial considerations. The professional recognition that accompanied my consulting success included invitations to speak at industry conferences, requests for article contributions to professional publications, and nominations for forensic accounting awards that acknowledged exceptional casework and client service. These opportunities provided platforms for building thought leadership and establishing my reputation beyond the Denver market. The speaking engagements were particularly valuable for networking and business development while providing forums for sharing knowledge and insights that benefited other practitioners and potential clients. The preparation required for professional presentations forced me to synthesize my experience and develop frameworks for communicating complex concepts that enhanced both my understanding and my ability to serve clients effectively. The article writing opportunities allowed me to establish thought leadership in specialized areas, while building credibility that attracted additional consulting assignments and speaking invitations. The research required for professional publication forced me to stay current with evolving best practices and regulatory developments that affected forensic accounting practice. The industry recognition culminated in election to the board of directors of the Colorado Association of Forensic Accountants, a position that provided additional networking opportunities while demonstrating professional standing that would be valuable for long-term career development and business growth. The educational component of my professional development included enrollment in advanced degree programs that would provide additional credentials and specialized knowledge for serving sophisticated clients and handling complex assignments. The II, Executive Master of Business Administration program at the University of Colorado, offered concentrations in forensic accounting and fraud examination that aligned perfectly with my career objectives. The MBA coursework provided frameworks for understanding business strategy, organizational behavior, and financial analysis that enhanced my ability to identify fraud risks and investigate complex schemes. The program also provided networking opportunities with business executives and legal professionals who became valuable contacts for future consulting assignments. The fraud examination certification process involved comprehensive study of investigation techniques, legal procedures, and professional standards that represented the highest level of specialized knowledge in the field. The certification required passing rigorous examinations and demonstrating practical experience through documented casework that met stringent quality standards. The combination of advanced education and professional certification positioned me as one of the most qualified forensic accounting practitioners in Colorado, while providing credentials that would be recognized nationally and internationally for future business development opportunities. The networking component of my professional development focused on building relationships within the legal community, where forensic accountants provide essential litigation support and expert testimony services. The relationships were developed through professional association activities, continuing education programs, and social events that brought together attorneys and financial experts who collaborated on complex cases. The most valuable legal relationships were with attorneys who specialized in white-collar criminal defense, complex commercial litigation, and family law matters involving business assets and financial misconduct. These practice areas generated consistent demand for forensic accounting services, while providing opportunities for challenging and well-compensated assignments. The family law connections proved particularly relevant given my personal circumstances, providing insights into divorce proceedings involving business assets and financial deception, while building relationships with attorneys who specialized in protecting clients from financial abuse and manipulation. The business development strategies that I implemented for my consulting practice included systematic marketing efforts that would generate consistent referrals and assignment opportunities without requiring extensive time investment that might interfere with casework or personal responsibilities. The marketing approach emphasized thought leadership through professional publication and speaking rather than traditional advertising or promotional activities that would be inappropriate for professional services and potentially expensive for a developing practice. The client development process focused on providing exceptional service quality that would generate referrals and repeat business while building long-term relationships that would support sustainable practice growth. The approach emphasized understanding client needs and objectives while providing solutions that exceeded expectations and delivered measurable value. The practice management systems that I developed included project management procedures, quality control processes, and client communication protocols that ensured consistent service delivery while maintaining the high standards necessary for professional credibility and business growth. The financial management of my consulting practice involved sophisticated budgeting and cash flow planning that optimized profitability while building reserves for business development and personal financial security. The approach included systematic reinvestment in professional development and business infrastructure that would support continued growth and expansion. The most significant aspect of my learning acceleration was the realization that my professional capabilities had not only been preserved during my domestic focus, but had actually been enhanced by maturity and life experience that provided better understanding of human motivation and business dynamics. The combination of technical expertise and practical wisdom created unique value for clients who needed both analytical capability and strategic insight. The confidence that resulted from professional success and recognition transformed my self-perception from financially dependent spouse to accomplished professional who could compete successfully in demanding markets while providing valuable services that commanded substantial compensation. This transformation would prove essential for the challenges that lay ahead, as my secret preparation phase approached its conclusion and confrontation with Michael became inevitable. The transition from preparation to active implementation required extraordinary precision in timing and execution as I began deploying the comprehensive strategy developed over 8 months of careful planning. The complexity of managing my expanding consulting practice while simultaneously positioning myself for potential marital dissolution demanded sophisticated project management skills and unwavering emotional discipline that tested every aspect of my professional and personal capabilities. The financial infrastructure that would support my independence was now sufficiently robust to sustain extended legal proceedings and the lifestyle adjustments that separation from Michael would require. My consulting practice generated monthly income that exceeded our historical household expenses by substantial margins, providing both current security and confidence in my ability to maintain financial stability, regardless of how our marriage ultimately concluded. The asset protection strategies that I had implemented included establishing a limited liability company for my consulting practice that would shield business assets from potential claims related to Michael's personal and professional obligations. The corporate structure provided tax advantages while creating legal separation between my professional activities and any liabilities that might arise from his financial misconduct or business failures. The business entity also provided mechanisms for accumulating wealth through systematic reinvestment of consulting income in diversified investment portfolios that would generate passive income streams supporting long-term financial independence. The approach emphasized growth-oriented investments appropriate for someone with substantial earning capacity and extended time horizons for wealth accumulation. The real estate strategy involved establishing independent property ownership that would provide both personal residence options and investment income if circumstances required relocation or lifestyle modification. The property search focused on neighborhoods that would provide appropriate educational opportunities for the twins, while offering investment potential that aligned with my risk tolerance and financial objectives. The legal preparation had reached the point where formal divorce proceedings could be initiated with confidence that comprehensive documentation and strategic positioning would optimize outcomes while minimizing risks and costs associated with protracted litigation. The evidence of Michael's financial misconduct was systematically organized and legally admissible, While my independent financial position was sufficiently established to support negotiation from strength rather than desperation. However, the decision about timing for confrontation with Michael required careful consideration of factors that extended beyond my personal readiness to include the twins' academic schedules, Michael's business obligations, and market conditions that might affect asset values and settlement negotiations. The strategic approach emphasized maximizing advantages while minimizing disruption to family members who were not responsible for the situation that had developed. The most complex aspect of implementation was managing the psychological demands of maintaining normal marital interactions while building comprehensive independence from our shared life. The performance required for family dinners, social events, and intimate conversations demanded acting skills that consumed substantial emotional energy, while requiring constant vigilance to avoid revealing the extent of my knowledge and preparation. The challenge was compounded by Michael's increasing erratic behavior as his financial problems intensified and his ability to maintain appearances became more difficult. His stress manifested through irritability, defensive responses to routine questions, and extended absences that he attributed to business demands, but which I suspected were related to gambling activities or attempts to secure additional financing through increasingly desperate measures. The gambling suspicion had developed through analysis of credit card statements and cash withdrawal patterns that suggested regular visits to Colorado's mountain casinos during times when Michael claimed to be managing construction sites or meeting with investors. The amounts involved were substantial, and the frequency was consistent with problem gambling behavior that would explain the escalating financial crisis affecting our family. The investigation of Michael's potential gambling addiction required discrete surveillance techniques that supplemented the financial analysis with direct observation of his activities during business trips and weekend absences. The evidence confirmed regular casino visits and provided insight into the psychological factors driving his financial deception and increasingly desperate behavior. Understanding the gambling component of Michael's problems was crucial for developing negotiation strategies that would address the underlying causes of our financial crisis, while protecting my interests from continued exposure to unpredictable and potentially escalating losses. The addiction aspect also provided legal advantages for asset protection and spousal support considerations in potential divorce proceedings. The business implications of Michael's gambling were severe and extended beyond personal financial losses to encompass professional reputation damage and potential regulatory violations that could affect his ability to maintain required licenses and client relationships. The real estate development industry depends heavily on trust and financial credibility that could be permanently damaged by gambling-related financial irregularities. The timing consideration that ultimately determined my implementation schedule was the twins' graduation from Colorado State University in May, which would eliminate their dependence on family stability for educational continuity, while providing natural transition timing that would minimize disruption to their career development. And personal planning. The strategic approach involved scheduling confrontation with Michael immediately following the graduation ceremony, using the celebratory family gathering as the final shared experience before addressing the fundamental problems that had undermined our marriage. The timing would provide the twins with the satisfaction of completing their education before dealing with family upheaval, while giving me additional months for final preparation and positioning. The graduation timeline also aligned with favorable market conditions for real estate asset disposition and business valuation that would optimize settlement negotiations while providing sufficient time for orderly asset division rather than forced liquidation that might reduce recovery amounts. The communication strategy for the twins required careful preparation to ensure they understood the situation appropriately while minimizing psychological trauma and maintaining their respect for both parents despite the circumstances that had developed. The approach emphasized Michael's gambling addiction as a medical condition requiring treatment rather than moral failure deserving condemnation. The preparation included consultation with family therapists and divorce counselors who specialized in helping adult children navigate parental divorce while maintaining healthy relationships with both parents. The The professional guidance provided frameworks for communication that would be honest without being destructive and supportive without being enabling. The legal strategy for confrontation involved presenting Michael with comprehensive documentation of his financial misconduct while offering negotiated settlement terms that would provide incentives for cooperation and consequences for continued deception or resistance. The approach was designed to achieve optimal outcomes while avoiding the costs and risks associated with contested litigation. The settlement proposal included provisions for gambling addiction treatment as a condition for receiving favorable asset division and ongoing support arrangements. The approach recognized that successful recovery would benefit the entire family, while failure to address the underlying problem would justify more restrictive terms and ongoing monitoring. The business asset evaluation required sophisticated analysis to determine fair market values for properties and development projects that were encumbered by various loans and obligations. The forensic accounting expertise that I had developed through consulting practice provided capabilities for conducting this analysis independently while ensuring that all assets and liabilities were properly identified and valued. The evaluation process revealed that several of Michael's properties retained substantial equity, despite the overall financial crisis affecting his business operations. The strategic approach involved identifying which assets should be preserved for long-term investment value and which should be liquidated to resolve outstanding obligations and provide settlement funds. The tax planning implications of asset division required coordination with specialist advisors who could optimize the timing and structure of property transfers while minimizing tax obligations for both parties. The approach emphasized preserving wealth through legitimate tax strategies rather than attempting to gain advantages through aggressive or questionable techniques. The insurance considerations involved ensuring that health coverage, life insurance, and disability protection would continue appropriately regardless of how marital status changed. The analysis revealed that Michael's business-provided insurance might be jeopardized by his financial problems, requiring independent coverage to protect against potential gaps in protection. The estate planning updates included revising wills, beneficiary designations, and power of attorney arrangements to reflect changed circumstances and ensure appropriate protection for the twins, while eliminating Michael's authority over my financial affairs. The documents were prepared by attorneys who understood the sensitive timing and confidentiality requirements associated with pending marital dissolution. The most challenging implementation aspect was maintaining the discipline and patience required for optimal timing, while managing the emotional stress of living with comprehensive knowledge of betrayal and the anticipation of confrontation that would fundamentally alter our family structure. The psychological preparation required developing coping strategies that would preserve my effectiveness and decision-making capabilities during the most difficult period. The support system that sustained me during this implementation phase included professional counselors who understood the dynamics of financial abuse and marital deception, legal advisors who provided confidence in my strategic positioning, and close friends who offered emotional support while respecting the confidentiality requirements that protected my preparation efforts. The final months before confrontation provided opportunities for completing remaining preparation tasks while observing Michael's behavior for any indications that he suspected my activities or was planning additional deceptive measures that might require adjustment to my strategy. The vigilance required constant attention while maintaining normal routines and interactions that would not alert him to my changed circumstances. The professional consulting practice continued expanding during this period, providing both income growth and psychological validation that reinforced my confidence in the transition ahead. The success demonstrated that my capabilities were sufficient for supporting independent financial security, while contributing value to clients who appreciated sophisticated expertise and professional excellence. The business development activities included establishing relationships with potential clients who would provide consistent assignment opportunities during the transition period when personal circumstances might affect my availability for extended travel or intensive project schedules. The planning ensured continuity of income while accommodating the demands of legal proceedings and family reorganization. The validation of my strategic planning arrived through an unexpected opportunity that demonstrated both the value of my professional reputation and the strength of the foundation I had built for financial independence. The breakthrough came in the form of a high-profile case involving the Denver Metropolitan Water Authority, where systematic embezzlement by senior management had compromised infrastructure funding for critical municipal projects affecting the entire metropolitan region. The assignment represented the largest and most visible forensic accounting investigation in Colorado during the past decade, involving the analysis of over $10 million in questionable transactions while working under intense scrutiny from regulatory agencies, law enforcement officials, and public oversight committees. The complexity demanded expertise that few practitioners possessed, while the public nature of the case required presentation skills and professional credibility that could withstand examination by hostile attorneys and skeptical media coverage. The selection process for this assignment involved competitive bidding among the most established forensic accounting firms in the region, including several national practices with substantial resources and impressive client portfolios. My selection over these larger competitors represented unprecedented recognition of the expertise and reputation I had developed through systematic professional development and exceptional performance on previous assignments. The decision factors that influenced my selection included the specialized knowledge I had demonstrated in municipal finance and regulatory compliance through previous cases, the efficiency and thoroughness that characterized my investigative methodology, and the communication skills that enabled effective presentation of complex findings to diverse audiences, including technical experts and general public representatives. The financial terms of the engagement provided compensation that exceeded the total income from my previous year of consulting practice, establishing immediate financial security while validating the market value of specialized expertise developed through sustained professional excellence. The economic impact extended beyond immediate fees to encompass enhanced reputation and credential building that would generate referrals and opportunities for years to come. The professional significance of this breakthrough extended far beyond financial considerations to encompass recognition as one of Colorado's premier forensic accounting practitioners, despite my relatively recent return to professional practice. The achievement demonstrated that sustained excellence and strategic positioning could overcome traditional advantages associated with established practices and decades of continuous experience. The investigation methodology required for this assignment demanded innovation and analytical capabilities that pushed beyond conventional forensic accounting techniques to develop new approaches for identifying complex fraud schemes involving multiple perpetrators and sophisticated concealment methods. The intellectual challenge provided opportunities for professional growth that would enhance my capabilities for future assignments, while establishing thought leadership in advanced investigative techniques. The municipal embezzlement scheme involved coordinated activities by the Chief Financial Officer, Procurement Director, and Facilities Management Supervisor who had established fictitious vendor relationships and manipulated contract approval processes to divert funds intended for water system improvements and maintenance operations. The fraud had continued for over 4 years while creating infrastructure deficiencies that threatened public health and safety. The investigation required analyzing procurement records, construction contracts, vendor payment systems, and infrastructure maintenance documentation, while coordinating with engineering consultants and regulatory specialists who provided technical expertise about municipal water system operations. The complexity demanded project management capabilities that ensured thorough analysis while meeting aggressive deadlines imposed by court proceedings and regulatory requirements. The forensic analysis revealed systematic weaknesses in internal controls and oversight procedures that had enabled the fraud, while providing recommendations for enhanced governance and monitoring systems that would prevent similar problems in the future. The consulting scope expanded beyond investigation to encompass organizational improvement recommendations that addressed root causes rather than simply documenting symptoms of management failure. The public presentation requirements for this case included testimony before city council committees, regulatory hearings, and judicial proceedings while maintaining professional objectivity and credibility, under aggressive cross-examination by defense attorneys representing the accused, officials. The experience provided invaluable training in expert witness presentation that would enhance my marketability for future litigation support assignments. The media attention associated with this high-profile case generated extensive coverage of my professional background and investigative findings, while establishing public recognition that would be valuable for business development and professional credibility. The coverage emphasized the thoroughness and accuracy of my analysis, while highlighting the innovative techniques that had uncovered evidence overlooked by previous investigators. The successful resolution of the municipal case resulted in criminal convictions for all 3 defendants while recovering over $8 million in misappropriated funds that were returned to the Water Authority for infrastructure improvements. The outcome provided measurable public benefit while demonstrating the value of expert forensic accounting services for protecting public resources and ensuring governmental accountability. The professional recognition generated by this successful outcome included invitations to speak at national conferences, requests for article contributions to prestigious professional publications, and nominations for industry awards that acknowledged exceptional achievement in forensic accounting practice. These opportunities provided platforms for sharing knowledge while building national reputation that would support business expansion beyond the Colorado market. The networking benefits of high-profile success included relationships with attorneys, regulators, and business executives who became valuable sources of referrals and collaboration opportunities. The connections extended beyond local markets to encompass regional and national professionals who could provide access to larger and more sophisticated assignments requiring specialized expertise. The confidence building that resulted from this breakthrough success was profound and transformative, validating my decision to rebuild professional practice while demonstrating that exceptional performance could overcome any perceived disadvantages associated with career interruption or limited recent experience. The achievement proved that expertise and excellence were more valuable than continuous practice or traditional credentials. The business development acceleration that followed this success included systematic expansion of marketing efforts and professional networking activities that leveraged enhanced reputation and credibility for generating consistent assignment opportunities. The approach emphasized thought leadership and professional excellence rather than traditional advertising or promotional activities that would be inappropriate for professional services. The practice management improvements that became necessary due to increased demand included hiring associate consultants and administrative support personnel who could handle routine tasks while enabling me to focus on the most complex and valuable assignments. The expansion required developing training programs and quality control systems that maintained the high standards essential for professional credibility. The financial planning implications of substantially increased income provided opportunities for accelerated wealth building through systematic investment in diversified portfolios that would generate passive income streams supporting long-term financial independence. The approach emphasized growth-oriented strategies appropriate for someone with substantial earning capacity and extended time horizons for accumulation. The real estate investment component of my wealth-building strategy benefited from the enhanced financial capacity and improved credit profile that resulted from documented business success and substantial income growth. The property acquisitions focused on income-generating investments that would provide portfolio diversification while building tangible assets that could appreciate over time. The most significant aspect of this breakthrough was the psychological transformation from someone rebuilding professional credibility to someone recognized as a leader in specialized expertise. The shift in self-perception and market positioning created confidence and authority that would be essential for navigating the personal challenges that remained ahead in my relationship with Michael. The professional achievement provided perspective on my personal situation that emphasized my capability for independent success rather than dependence on marriage for financial security or social status. The transformation from potentially vulnerable spouse to accomplished professional created options and confidence that would be crucial for optimal outcomes in pending marital dissolution proceedings. The timing of this breakthrough, relative to my planned confrontation with Michael, could not have been more advantageous, providing both practical resources and psychological strength at the moment when both would be most needed. The success demonstrated that my strategic planning and professional development had created genuine advantages rather than simply theoretical possibilities. The income security that resulted from established professional reputation and consistent high-value assignments eliminated financial pressure that might have compromised negotiation positions or forced acceptance of inadequate settlement terms. The independence provided freedom to prioritize optimal long-term outcomes rather than immediate financial relief. The professional network that I had developed through successful practice included attorneys, financial advisors, and other specialists who could provide expert guidance and representation during divorce proceedings while ensuring that my interests were protected and advanced effectively. The relationships represented valuable resources that money alone could not purchase. The enhanced self-confidence and professional identity that resulted from public recognition and market validation would prove essential for maintaining emotional stability and strategic thinking during the difficult confrontations and negotiations that lay ahead. The achievement provided psychological armor that would protect against manipulation or intimidation tactics that Michael might attempt to employ. The business continuity planning that became necessary due to the success of my practice included developing systems and procedures that would ensure consistent service delivery and client satisfaction during periods when personal circumstances might affect my availability or attention. The preparation ensured that professional obligations would be managed appropriately regardless of personal developments. The wealth management strategies that became relevant due to substantially increased assets included sophisticated tax planning, estate planning, and investment management that required coordination with specialists who understood the complexities of high-net-worth financial planning. The approaches emphasized preservation and growth while providing appropriate protection and flexibility for changing circumstances. The breakthrough success validated every aspect of my strategic planning and professional development, while providing the foundation for confident action in addressing the personal challenges that had motivated my transformation. The achievement demonstrated that sustained excellence and strategic positioning could overcome almost any disadvantage while creating genuine options and opportunities that would support optimal outcomes regardless of external circumstances. The professional success achieved through the Municipal Water Authority investigation created access to sophisticated learning opportunities and advanced expertise development that would have been inconceivable during my earlier career or domestic years. The recognition established by this high-profile achievement opened doors to exclusive professional development programs, specialized consulting engagements, and collaborative relationships with national experts who represented the highest levels of forensic accounting practice. The invitation to join the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants Forensic and Valuation Services Committee provided access to developing industry standards and best practices while contributing to professional guidance that would influence forensic accounting methodology nationwide. The committee work involved analyzing emerging fraud schemes, evaluating new investigative technologies, and developing educational resources that would enhance practitioner capabilities across the profession. The committee participation required extensive research into cutting-edge forensic techniques, including artificial intelligence applications for pattern recognition, blockchain analysis for cryptocurrency investigations, and advanced statistical modeling for identifying anomalies in large datasets. The knowledge development represented significant advancement beyond traditional forensic accounting methods while positioning me at the forefront of technological innovation in financial investigation. The collaboration with technology vendors and software developers provided opportunities to influence product development while gaining early access to tools and capabilities that would provide competitive advantages for complex investigations. The relationships generated consulting opportunities while ensuring that my practice would benefit from the most advanced analytical capabilities available to forensic accounting professionals. The international fraud investigation training provided by the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners expanded my expertise to encompass cross-border financial crimes and regulatory compliance requirements that affected multinational corporations and sophisticated criminal organizations. The specialized knowledge opened opportunities for assignments involving international money laundering, tax evasion schemes, and corporate fraud that crossed jurisdictional boundaries. The training included intensive coursework in international banking regulations, foreign exchange manipulation techniques, and offshore entity structures that criminals and corrupt business executives use to conceal financial misconduct. The expertise represented advanced specialization that few practitioners possessed, while commanding premium fees from clients who required such sophisticated analytical capabilities. The academic collaboration opportunities included guest lecturer positions at the University of Colorado Business School and Colorado State University College of Business, where I developed and delivered graduate-level courses in forensic accounting methodology and fraud examination techniques. The teaching responsibilities provided platforms for sharing practical knowledge while staying current with academic research and theoretical developments in the field. The curriculum development work involved creating case studies based on actual investigations while preserving client confidentiality through appropriate modifications and anonymization. The educational materials became valuable resources for professional development programs, while establishing my reputation as both practitioner and educator who could bridge the gap between academic theory and practical application. The research collaboration with university faculty members provided opportunities to contribute to academic publications while gaining access to theoretical frameworks and analytical techniques that enhanced my investigative methodology. The partnerships generated peer-reviewed articles in prestigious accounting and criminology journals, while building credibility within both academic and professional communities. The expert witness development that resulted from my enhanced reputation included specialized training in courtroom presentation, cross-examination techniques, and effective communication with judges and juries who lacked technical accounting knowledge. The capabilities commanded substantial fees, while providing opportunities to influence legal precedents and judicial understanding of complex financial crimes. The litigation support assignments that followed included high-stakes commercial disputes involving billions of dollars in claim damages, criminal prosecutions of corporate executives accused of securities fraud, and regulatory enforcement actions against financial institutions that had failed to prevent money laundering activities. The cases required expertise that combined technical analytical skills with strategic thinking about legal implications and optimal presentation of complex evidence. The most challenging assignment involved analyzing trading patterns in communications, records for a major investment bank where proprietary trading operations had allegedly used confidential client information to generate profits through illegal front-running activities. The investigation required understanding sophisticated financial instruments, electronic trading systems, and market microstructure dynamics that affected pricing and execution of large institutional transactions. The complexity demanded collaboration with securities industry experts, electronic trading specialists, and market data analysts who provided technical knowledge that supplemented my forensic accounting expertise. The interdisciplinary approach required project management skills that coordinated diverse expertise while maintaining focus on the investigative objectives and legal standards for evidence admissibility. The outcome of this investment banking investigation resulted in regulatory penalties exceeding $100 million, while establishing legal precedents for electronic evidence analysis and market manipulation detection. The success generated additional referrals from regulatory agencies and law enforcement organizations, while enhancing my reputation for handling the most complex and sensitive financial investigations. The wealth management knowledge that became relevant due to my substantially increased income and asset accumulation included sophisticated strategies for tax optimization, estate planning, and investment management that required coordination, with specialists who understood high net worth financial planning. The approaches emphasized growth and preservation while providing appropriate flexibility for changing personal and professional circumstances. The tax planning strategies included advanced techniques for managing the timing of income recognition, optimizing deductions and credits, and coordinating business and personal tax obligations to minimize overall liability while maintaining compliance with complex regulations. The planning required quarterly reviews and proactive adjustments based on changing income patterns and tax law developments. The estate planning considerations involved establishing trust structures and succession planning arrangements that would protect wealth while providing appropriate benefits for my daughters and other designated beneficiaries. The structures included provisions for disability protection, business succession, and charitable giving that reflected my values while optimizing tax efficiency and asset protection benefits. The investment management approach emphasized diversification across asset classes, geographic regions, and investment strategies while maintaining appropriate liquidity for business and personal needs. The portfolio construction included public securities, real estate investments, private equity opportunities, and alternative investments that provided optimal risk-adjusted returns for my circumstances and objectives. The business development acceleration that resulted from enhanced professional reputation included systematic expansion into new practice areas and geographic markets that leveraged my expertise while providing growth opportunities beyond the Colorado region. The expansion required careful planning to maintain service quality while building capacity for increased demand and more complex assignments. The practice management improvements included implementing advanced project management systems, quality control procedures, and client communication protocols that ensured consistent service delivery while supporting efficient operations and profitability optimization. The systems enabled effective coordination of multiple simultaneous assignments while maintaining the high standards essential for professional credibility. The staff development program that became necessary due to practice growth included hiring experienced professionals and training junior associates who could handle routine tasks while learning advanced techniques through mentorship and guided practice. The team building created capacity for larger assignments while providing career development opportunities for talented individuals who shared my commitment to professional excellence. The professional networking expansion included active participation in national and international forensic accounting organizations while building relationships with attorneys, regulators, and business executives who could provide referrals and collaboration opportunities. The networking approach emphasized value creation and knowledge sharing rather than simple promotion or business development. The thought leadership development included regular publication in professional journals, presentation at industry conferences, and participation in professional standard-setting activities that influenced forensic accounting methodology and best practices. The activities established my reputation as an innovator and expert whose insights were valued by peers and clients. The international business development included establishing relationships with forensic accounting practitioners and law enforcement agencies in other countries while developing capabilities for cross-border investigations and regulatory compliance. The expansion provided access to assignments involving multinational corporations and international financial crimes that commanded premium fees while requiring sophisticated analytical capabilities. The technology integration initiatives included implementing artificial intelligence tools for document analysis, advanced statistical software for pattern recognition, and cloud-based collaboration platforms that enabled efficient coordination with clients and team members across multiple locations. The technology investments provided competitive advantages while improving efficiency and service quality. The most significant aspect of this expanded knowledge phase was recognizing how professional excellence created compound benefits that extended far beyond immediate financial rewards to encompass opportunities for intellectual growth, social, impact and personal fulfillment that would not have been available through traditional employment or domestic focus. The transformation demonstrated that strategic professional development could create extraordinary opportunities while providing foundation for contributions that benefited society as well as individual success. The confidence and capability that resulted from this knowledge expansion provided psychological preparation for the personal challenges that remained ahead while ensuring that my professional success would continue regardless of how my marital situation was ultimately resolved. The achievement represented complete transformation from financial dependence to professional leadership that would influence my field while providing security and satisfaction that no external circumstances could compromise. The convergence of my professional peak with the deteriorating situation at home created unprecedented complexity that tested every aspect of my strategic planning and emotional resilience. Managing the demands of high-profile forensic investigations while preparing for marital confrontation required extraordinary mental compartmentalization and energy management that pushed my capabilities to their absolute limits during the most critical period of my transformation. The challenge intensified when Michael's gambling addiction reached a crisis point that threatened to expose our family's financial difficulties to our professional and social communities. His desperation had escalated to the point where he was using business credit lines to fund casino visits while missing mortgage payments and defaulting on business loan obligations that could trigger immediate foreclosure proceedings and professional license revocation. The situation became critical when I discovered that Michael had forged my signature on a second mortgage application for our primary residence, using fraudulent income documentation and asset statements to secure a loan that put our home at immediate risk of foreclosure. The forgery represented felony fraud that could result in criminal prosecution while jeopardizing my professional reputation if the circumstances became public knowledge during my high-profile consulting assignments. The legal implications of the forged mortgage documents created immediate risk that extended beyond potential financial losses to encompass professional liability and reputational damage that could destroy the practice I had worked so diligently to build. Forensic accounting practitioners depend absolutely on integrity and trustworthiness, and any association with financial fraud, even as a victim, could undermine client confidence and professional credibility irreparably. The timing of this crisis coincided with my most demanding professional assignment to date, investigating securities fraud at a major Denver investment firm where senior executives had allegedly manipulated quarterly earnings reports while trading on insider information about pending merger negotiations. The case involved analyzing over 5 million documents while coordinating with federal prosecutors who were building criminal cases against multiple defendants. The investment firm investigation required my immediate and complete attention during extended periods when I needed to be available for grand jury testimony, regulatory hearings, and strategy sessions with prosecution teams. The professional obligations demanded travel to Washington, D.C. for Securities and Exchange Commission meetings while maintaining daily contact with investigative teams who depended on my analysis for case development. The conflict between professional demands and personal crisis management created impossible scheduling pressures that required extraordinary organizational skills and support systems to navigate successfully. Missing professional obligations could jeopardize client relationships and reputation permanently, while neglecting the personal crisis could result in immediate financial catastrophe and potential criminal exposure. The solution required developing comprehensive delegation systems and emergency protocols that would enable my practice to function effectively during periods when personal emergencies demanded my immediate attention. The systems included detailed procedural documentation, backup analyst assignments, and client communication procedures that maintained service quality while providing flexibility for crisis management. The most challenging aspect of this period was maintaining the performance standards essential for professional credibility, while managing the psychological stress of discovering that Michael's desperation had escalated to criminal behavior that directly threatened my security and reputation. The emotional demands of processing this betrayal while functioning at peak professional levels required mental discipline that pushed my capabilities beyond anything I had previously experienced. The discovery process for the investment firm investigation required working 18-hour days for extended periods while analyzing complex trading patterns and communications records that would determine whether criminal charges were justified against prominent business executives. The intellectual demands were extraordinary, requiring absolute focus and analytical precision, while managing fatigue and stress that could compromise judgment and effectiveness. The concurrent management of Michael's crisis required developing legal strategies that would protect my interests while minimizing exposure to his fraudulent activities. The approach involved immediate consultation with criminal defense attorneys who specialized in financial fraud cases, while implementing asset protection measures that would shield my professional practice and personal wealth from potential liability. The asset protection strategies included establishing additional corporate entities and trust structures that would provide legal separation between my legitimate business activities and any claims or liabilities that might arise from Michael's fraudulent conduct. The structures required sophisticated legal documentation and tax planning that demanded coordination with multiple specialists while maintaining confidentiality about the personal circumstances driving these arrangements. The most complex challenge involved managing information flow and communication with various professional advisors while maintaining confidentiality about personal circumstances that could affect my professional standing if disclosed inappropriately. The coordination required careful briefing of attorneys, accountants, and financial advisors about their respective roles, while ensuring that sensitive information was shared only with those who needed specific knowledge for effective representation. The psychological pressure of maintaining normal family interactions while implementing emergency financial protection measures created extraordinary stress that required professional counseling support and stress management techniques to prevent emotional breakdown that could compromise my effectiveness in either professional or personal spheres. The counseling provided essential strategies for managing anxiety and maintaining focus during the most difficult period of my life. The professional counseling included specialized therapy for individuals dealing with financial abuse and betrayal, trauma while developing coping mechanisms for high-stress professional environments. The combination addressed both the emotional impact of Michael's betrayal and the performance pressures associated with managing complex investigations under intense scrutiny. The medication management that became necessary during this period included anti-anxiety prescriptions and sleep aids that enabled continued functioning while managing stress-related physical symptoms that could undermine my health and professional performance. The medical support required careful coordination with physicians who understood the unique pressures affecting forensic accounting practitioners during major investigations. The family dynamics became increasingly difficult as Michael's erratic behavior and financial stress created tension that affected our interactions with the twins, while compromising the stable family environment that had supported their academic success and emotional development. Managing their concerns while protecting them from knowledge that could be psychologically damaging required extraordinary diplomatic skills and emotional strength. The twins' graduation timeline provided both deadline pressure and motivation for resolving the crisis before their celebration was overshadowed by family upheaval. The goal of maintaining family stability through their college completion required careful crisis management that addressed immediate threats while preparing for post-graduation confrontation and resolution. The business continuity planning for my consulting practice included developing comprehensive backup systems and alternative service delivery methods that would ensure client satisfaction during periods when personal circumstances might affect my availability or attention. The planning included cross-training staff members and establishing partnerships with other practitioners who could provide emergency support if circumstances required temporary absence from active practice. The client communication strategies addressed how to manage professional relationships and maintain confidence during periods when personal stress might affect my availability or performance. The approach emphasized transparency about potential scheduling constraints while demonstrating continued commitment to service excellence and professional standards. The financial management during this crisis period required balancing immediate protection needs with long-term wealth-building objectives while maintaining liquidity for potential legal expenses and settlement obligations. The approach included accelerating asset accumulation while establishing emergency reserves that could support extended legal proceedings and lifestyle adjustments if immediate separation from Michael became necessary. The most significant breakthrough during this challenging period was recognizing that the crisis management skills and strategic thinking capabilities I had developed through professional practice were directly applicable to personal challenges and provided advantages for navigating complex situations that would overwhelm individuals without such analytical and planning experience. The confidence that resulted from successfully managing multiple simultaneous crises while maintaining professional excellence demonstrated that my transformation was complete and sustainable, regardless of external pressures or unexpected challenges. The achievement provided psychological foundation for the confrontation phase that would soon determine the ultimate resolution of my marital situation and establish the framework for my independent future. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.